Runt of the Jabba litter. He was a handsome, pink, corpulent man, my father, Billy Jean, the kind of guy whose wife and kids hid from him very artfully all day on Saturday when he was home, and who spent that day in the living room, slicking back his hair in the mirror and writing down plans for his funeral in a yellow legal pad. For a reason I didn't understand at the time, my father had little taste for spanking me. I'd learned later that my brothers and sister were stepkids, making them my half siblings. I didn't know that. They got it from him, the business, and I didn't. All the spankings I got were from my mother. My father never touched me. But in order to ensure that I didn't grow up to be a back talking punk, he developed a strategy to replace spanking, realizing, I think, as he did, that it possessed a violence commensurate with blows to the ass with a wooden spoon or a hairbrush, a purely psychological violence steeped, I think, in his mind with elements of comedy. If I misbehaved badly enough, my father would tell me that he'd had enough of my bullshit and that he was taking me down the road to drop me off at Old Man Johnson's house. In the gasoline reek of Mississippi twilight, his face framed in an all around of imploding isotopes in fleet interlope with the known, my father elaborated to me the story of Old Man Johnson, who, he said, owned a shack deep in a swampy area a couple streets over, and it was Old Man Johnson who ran a sort of business or service for the neighborhood parents, offering to take incorrigible children off their hands, free of charge, and parents like my father were encouraged to avail themselves of his services whenever they wished, for there was always room for new children in the shack, deep in the swamp where the kudzu vines hid from sight, the sight of the world, the extraordinary ordeals that I and others like me would be forced to endure at the hands of this mysterious sadist who dressed only in moccasin skin underwear and who lived off dung beetles and human ears. On the heels of some transgression, some boyish lapse in judgment, for which I instantly felt convicted, my father, looking wary all of a sudden, as if life's vicissitudes had finally at last ruptured something permanently within him, would say quietly, his voice burdened with a fatigue that was palpable to me, like his thick mustache, "Benji, I can't take this anymore." "But Daddy, I'm sorry. Please don't." "No, Benji, I've had enough. Go get in the truck. I'm taking you to Old Man Johnson's." I was told to quickly get my things together and put them in my backpack. I was to take my school books with me to the shack. They could be disposed of in the swamp. I wouldn't need that kind of education where I was going. The education I needed would be provided for me. Then we'd get in the truck and my father would start the engine and begin backing out of the driveway. It was then, right then, at that precise instant, that I'd completely lose my shit. I'd been told by him in the house that it was at Old Man Johnson's tonight they were having carp for dinner. I knew that only hill people ate carp. It was all bone. I begged and cried. Then he'd cut the engine and turn to me. "Look, I'll give you one more chance," he'd say. "But don't make me regret my decision, Benji. I mean it." It was right around this time that I ran my mouth to a boy named Michael at school in front of a few other people. Before I knew what was happening, he threw a right hook that caught me on the cheek, making the spit fly out of my mouth and in a gob hit the kid standing beside me in the face. I didn't retaliate. Based on what I'd said to the kid, I had it coming to me. But it bruised the side of my face, and when I got home from school that day, Billy Jean saw it. When he asked me who had done it, I had to tell him the truth. The kid who hit me with that Tyson 86 haymaker was the dorkiest kid in class. He was tiny and spectrally thin, almost to the point of half palpability, like the ectoplasms I saw on movie screens. On the top of his head, his hair was very wet and mounded, and I knew such a hairstyle took long sessions in front of the mirror to accomplish, and it reminded me unpleasantly of the black licorice ice cream that only the grubby, eccentric kids in class liked to eat. He couldn't have bench pressed a helium balloon. His high, pinched, snobby face, framed in that carefully molded hairstyle, was punctuated by a pair of ugly square glasses, ludicrously thick, which seemed too heavy for his face with its delicate, almost feminine features to bear, and because of that, In my memory, he is always leaning forward as if he were stooping over to accept a medal, the glasses on his face weighing it down so that he constantly has to balance himself against common objects, poles, banisters, handrails, and such. My father became angry when I told him that not only had this kid, the most ludicrous specimen in class, popped me in the face, had somehow succeeded in working up the balls to do that. But to his astonishment, my father confessed to me that he couldn't fathom why on earth I hadn't hit him back, a critical fact which seemed to flabbergast him, and his thick face became red as a baboon's ass in the schizoid light of our tiny home, teetering on the brink of an extinction that is fundamental, the exquisite viscera of the experience of living in this house with these people, constipating endlessly in a reckoning of agonized intestines of perception, cinched and knotted beyond all comprehension, all stopped up like a crashed barge on the Tombigbee waterway. Ashamed that he had to tell me what was obvious to everyone else, he commanded me to go to school the next day and crack this kid, Michael, in the face. I'm going to stop here and record part 2. So if you can go to part 2, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.